Welcome to The Buzz with Angie
and Dylan.
This is the very first podcast from the Grand Forks Public Library, and we're recording inside our brand new story studio. It's a sleek little soundproof booth right here in the library, decked out with high-quality mics and recording gear.
The best part? It's totally free for anyone to use. So if you've been thinking about starting a podcast, capturing family stories, or even recording a song for your kids, this space is all ready for you.
All right, let's get into it. We're kicking things off with a series all about staff stories, starting with us. Today, we're turning the mic on each other to talk about how we ended up working in a library and what that journey has looked like. First up, Dylan. All right, Dylan, so what is your job title and what do you do day to day?
Hey, so my job title is Adult Services Librarian with being the outreach lead. Our day-to-day activities are generally kind of split into like two parts. We spend half the day on the desk, so that's when we get to interact with a lot of patrons just coming in, finding books, items, reference questions, all of those kind of situations. And then we spend the other half of the day either planning or doing our outreach activities or different programs, either in the library or outside of the library. Some of those have included going to some of the middle schools. So recently we did a D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, one-shot at South Middle School for their Spartan Day. We did a Library Olympics event at Schrader Middle School. And so we try and do different things with like local schools. And then we also do a lot of things with our senior patrons. So we go to several different nursing homes around town to help with that. The one I personally help with is at Edgewood, and we do that once a month to do like a different like arts and craft activity with them.
Sounds like it's something different every day.
Exactly. Like very rarely do we ever have the same program like over and over. Like when we go to Edgewood, like it's always like a craft, but it's never the same craft.
How long have you been at GFP?
So I've been at the library since, I think it would be 2021. So almost 5 years in November, I believe.
Okay. Has that time gone by fast?
It definitely has. There's so many times where I'm thinking it's like, oh yeah, I've been here for like 2 years or whatever. And then people who have actually been here for 2 years, they're like, no, you haven't.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely goes by really fast.
Awesome. I think that's a sign you're having fun.
Definitely.
Cool. What is your favorite part of your job?
So my favorite part of my job is just being able to like learn something new every day and be able to help someone new every day. Those are kind of my two passions, is just always being able to like learn new things. And to me, everything's a fun fact. Like even if something's like mundane, if you've learned something new, it just makes it a much better day. And then being able to help people kind of like enjoy that learning as well. So it's always fun seeing that aha moment in like a patron's face, like when they finally like learn something or they discover something. It's just like brings me joy.
Absolutely. How did you get into librarianship or discover that you wanted to work at a library?
So librarianship definitely was something I discovered like later in my education. I originally wanted to be a chemical engineer. And so for the first 2 years of college, that's what I focused on, was like chemistry, chemical engineering, math. And then I kind of discovered I really don't like physics, which is a pretty big part of the engineering aspect. And so I then decided to completely 180 it and go to history instead. And so I did history for my undergraduate with a minor in English, and that was at Dickinson State University. But at that time, I still wanted to be like a history like professor. So I wanted to actually come to UND here in town to do their Doctor of Arts in teaching, or not in teaching, but in history. So I could be like a history professor. But then that was also right when COVID kind of started. And so a lot of their students that were supposed to graduate weren't able to graduate on time because of everything, so they weren't accepting new students. Because I had already moved up here, though, it's like I needed a job. So I actually originally started working at the state's attorney's office here in town for the Grand Forks County. I worked there for, I think, about a year and a half, and I really enjoyed my time there, too. Like, It was like everyone there was amazing to work with. I got to meet so many people, such as like these like state's attorney Haley Wamstead. Just loved working with my coworkers. The only thing is like, wow, like my personal job, because I was a file tech there, actually was very low stress because I never actually had to go into the courtroom. It definitely just kind of gave me a little bit of a negative view of Grand Forks because people don't go to the state's attorney's office for mostly like good reasons. It's generally because of something has happened and they have to go there.
Sure.
I wanted something that had much more of a positive view of the city. And so when I saw the library having a position open, at that time it was an information services associate. I definitely jumped at that because to me, and ever since I started working here, it's definitely kind of had that exact opposite where now I just have like a very possibly over positive view of the city and of the community as a whole. And I would say this job too is super, super low stress, but it's also fun here. Like I just think it's so fun. Like, well, the other day, like I was able to spend an hour of my time making library memes. Like, and I was just thinking, it's like, this is just amazing being able to like share like library memes with patrons, spread it.
All right. This is a little bit deeper question, but what drives you or what motivates you?
Yeah. What definitely motivates me is just like the drive to learn and to help. And again, I think libraries are the perfect places if those are your two passions is to learn and to help because that's what we do every day. A lot of people sometimes like think we are just like reading all day. Really, there is no like reading when you're like at the desk or in the back. It's always planning, it's always doing something. But what's nice is even if you're not like reading, you're still always learning something new. Like you always learn new stuff. Like when a patron asks you a question, most of the time we don't know the answer right off the top of our head, but now we get to research it and find out the answer with them.
Right.
And so that's definitely what kind of drives me is just that always like pursuit of almost like two birds with one stone. I get to learn and help at the same exact time.
Yeah, that's really neat. What is a fun fact about yourself?
My fun fact is I was literally dropped on my head down concrete stairs as a baby. So whenever people ask, like, after a few minutes of, like, conversation, they're like, were you dropped on your head? Yes, I was. Everything was okay from it, but yes, I was dropped on my head.
How do people react when they hear that you truly were?
It depends. Like, some people who know me for, like, longer and just learn about that, they're like, that tracks. Some newer people, they just kind of like, oh, like you actually were.
Like you're being serious right now.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. All right. What is one tip, trick, or hack that you think everyone should know?
So my tip/hack is and I'm a little biased obviously in this, but everyone should have a library card. And especially like at least with Grand Forks Public Library and most libraries in the area, as long as you live within their service population, which for us is the entire county, it's completely free. So why someone wouldn't want it is kind of beyond me, especially because we offer so many different things and we're way more than just books. Also, we have like ebooks and e-audiobooks through Libby. And that's always free with our library card. So a lot of people use that. But if you also like watching movies, we have Canopy. We also have a huge DVD selection. Like we're pretty much the last video rental place you can find. And I've always said too, like if you're trying to like, let's say, just find something fun to do over the weekend, we have state park passes you can check out with your library card. We also have our Library of Things catalog. So if you wanted to like use a metal detector to just like search your backyard for various things, you can rent one of that out for free for a week. So there's just so many things that the library like can help save, like just financially, like help patrons save money. But then also, we have so many fun activities going on. And granted, you don't need a library card to do any of our events here, but it's just kind of handy while you come in to do our events that you can then also check out movies, books.
Yeah, you're leaving with a party favor.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, cool. All right, if you couldn't work for a library, what would you do instead?
I think I would definitely want to be a tour guide. I kind of have this like ability where if I go on a tour like once or twice, I can then almost like repeat the tour like to other people later on. It's never word for word, but the example I always kind of give is I've gone on the Capitol tour at the state capitol like 3 times now. The first 2 times were when I was like in high school. And I had gone with like one group of friends the first time, a second group of friends the second time. Well, the third time I went with my family. And when we were going through, they were originally going to cancel it because the tour guide actually wasn't able to show up. But the security guard was there. And so the security guard said like he didn't want people like not be able to experience it or whatever. It's just like he can take us around, but he doesn't know any of the information. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's fine. Well, as we're going through, I was essentially giving a mini tour to my family. Well, because there was like other people there, it turned out like where everyone else is just kind of like listening in.
Right.
And so I just kind of became a very impromptu tour guide of the Capitol. I also learned that of all 3 times like I've gone there, it's never been exactly the same because the tour guide always takes you to like slightly different places.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember with the security guard was kind of funny. Is like when we went in, like they took us into the Supreme Court like public room. So not like in their like private chambers or anything, but just like the public like hearing section or whatever. And then everyone like looked at me for more information. I'm like, we normally don't go in here.
Oh my
so like
goodness,
I actually didn't have any information on that like thing because it's like I haven't heard anything on this one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yep, so it was definitely kind of a fun experience. I maybe sometimes get like overzealous about like just information. Like to me, like I love learning information. I love sharing information. And same thing with other people. Like I love it when people tell me a new fun fact just as much as I love telling a fun fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely lots of fun.
Makes sense why you're a librarian.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Dylan, can you tell us about a moment at work that brought you joy?
So the moment I can think of off the top of my head, and it was fairly on when I first started working here, is I was at the front desk and this kid, probably around like 8 or 10, not much older than that, like he comes up to the front desk and just with a very like exasperated kind of like almost defeated tone, he's like, where can I find life? And of course, like from a 10-year-old, like that's kind of like somewhat of a deep philosophical question at times. And you're like, oh my God, like, how do I respond? Like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? And then like just a few seconds later, his parent comes on. He's like, he wants the board game. And then it's like, oh, that makes so much more sense.
Right.
But it was just like the defeated tone. Yeah, like, where can I find life? And it's like, oh, board game. Yes.
You're like, it's everywhere here. Just look around. You're in the library.
Yep, exactly.
Oh,
but yeah, so that was always funny. And we have interactions like that every day where like what you like are thinking is completely like juxtaposed to like something like what they're actually wanting.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many times too where we learn that with like authors. There's so many authors that have the same name. And so there's times where it's like, oh, do you have any books on John Smith? Well, in my mind, it's like, oh, yeah, I know exactly where John Smith is, or like talking about, turns out they're talking about completely different John Smith.
Sure.
And so, like, we just have situations like that, but it's always fun and entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. All right, one more question here. What was your very first library memory?
So my first library memory would be actually from elementary school in Dickinson. So I went to Roosevelt Elementary there. And the kindergarten teacher there, I'll shout out to Mrs. Bijou, amazing. She always wanted students to like have this like love for, again, like libraries and everything. But she knew like to keep a kid's attention, you always have to like make it interesting. And so what she would always do, whether we were going to the library or like the computer lab or cafeteria, the first weeks of school, we always went everywhere trying to find a gingerbread man. So she had like a wooden gingerbread man, and so we'd have to try and find him. And so like it would leave clues, and so we would go around the school trying to find it. And one of the very first places the gingerbread man was hiding was the school library. And so it was just kind of like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like my parents had plenty of books growing up, but that was like the most books you've ever seen when you're like 5. And so it's just like, what is this place?
It was magical.
Yep, definitely.
Very cool. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit now, and it's time for a lightning round. So think quick questions, quick answers, no overthinking. So Dylan, are you ready for this?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's go. Paperback or hardcover?
Hardcover.
Sci-fi or fantasy?
Fantasy.
Romance or horror?
Horror.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Book or audiobook?
Audiobook.
Dedicated bookmark or random item?
Bookmark.
Art or science?
I'll have to say art.
Okay. Musical playground or the giant pink slide?
Musical playground.
Sunrises or sunsets?
Definitely sunset. I'm never awake for sunrises.
I hear you. True crime or feel-good stories?
Feel-good stories, I think.
Library of Things or Care Catalog?
Library of Things.
DC or Marvel?
Marvel.
Night owl or morning bird, I think I can guess.
Yeah, night owl, definitely.
Book first or movie first?
I always say movie first, because if you watch the movie first, you can enjoy the movie and read the book and still enjoy the book.
Okay.
If you read the book, you're probably not going to enjoy the movie.
That makes sense. Reading snack, sweet or salty?
I would definitely say both.
I agree. What is your snack of choice?
To me, I love honey roasted peanuts.
Oh.
So, I love that, both sweet and salty in the same thing.
All right, the results are in. We checked with the experts, ran the numbers, and surprise! Every single thing you picked and a whole lot more is something you can get at the library for free. Gotta love that. That's it for today's episode of The Buzz. We'll be popping into your feed once a month, so keep an eye out for what's next. Until then, you can find everything we've got going on at gflibrary.com. We'll see you next time on The Buzz.